Hello, Anchorage. I'm Nate, one of the pastors at Faith Lutheran Church on Lake Otis Parkway. Perhaps you noticed, and well, perhaps you didn't notice for that matter, that I did not post my video at the normal time this week. Well, perhaps you can see the reason why. My family and I have been under the weather for about 7 days. We've been fighting the sickies. And I'm sure it's no different experience than what you've had. When you get sick, it throws your schedule upside down. It frustrates you not to be able to do the things that you want to do. And it's tempting to get frustrated at God, to become angry, and maybe even doubt God's goodness and his desire to bless you and me. Well, one of the first pastors that Jesus sent in the first century to share the awesome news of who Jesus is and what he did to save us from our sins had a very similar situation. He had some kind of physical ailment. We don't know what it was, but it was something that nagged him and got to him perpetually. And many times, Paul, the pastor's name is Paul, Paul tells us that he asked God to take that ailment, he called it a thorn of the flesh, to take it away. But you know, God's answer? He said to Paul, no. And that may sound like a lack of love or missing grace from God. But listen to what God's answer to Paul and to us was in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 8. God said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You see, God lets us into one of his deep thoughts, one of his high the way his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. We have the temptation to become conceited and to think more highly of ourselves than we should. We have a temptation to put our trust in ourselves and in mankind. It's true, we have a lot of smart scientists. We have a lot of dedicated doctors and very caring caregivers, nurses and family members who are giving of themselves to help other people when we are at our worst. But God's encouragement and reminder is for us not to put our absolute trust and confidence in man, because we humans are limited. There is a limit to our knowledge. There is a limit to our strength and our power. And so God tells Paul and me, and he encourages us to anchor our hope in this truth, that his grace is sufficient for us. That word grace is a beautiful word. It basically means God's gift of love. His promise to help us, to bless us, to forgive us because of Jesus, and to rescue us when we are in dire straits. His power is made perfect in our weakness. As we give up our trusting ourselves, we put our faith and our confidence and our trust in God, who is almighty, and we will see marvelous things. I don't know how long I'm going to be sick. My prayer is that my family and I get over it very quickly. Maybe you have a temporary illness like a cold or a flu. Maybe your thorn in the flesh is more long-term, like lung cancer, a failing heart, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, kidney disease. There are so many diseases and weaknesses that we have. But God's promise is that he is with you. God's grace tells you that he loves you and sent his own Son to save you. And that's what gives us patience and endurance to get through the weakness of this world until the day comes when we see God's power in all its glory in heaven. My prayer is that God's grace is sufficient for you and that you enjoy seeing God's perfect power in his timing. Until next time, let's be anchored in hope. God bless you.